Hey guys, it's Fannya and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to episode 4 of Late Night Talking. In today's video, I'm going to talk about my 5-star reads so far of 2023. So like all of the books that I've rated 5 stars that I've read so far this year. So far this year, I have read 29 books, which is a lot. I've read so many amazing books so far this year, and I'm just gonna talk about the books that I've rated 5 stars. So the first book that I've rated 5 stars is The Bodyguard by Catherine Center. I read this book in March. I really like how it's like a light, cute read. So the female main character is a bodyguard and the male main character is like this popular star, and the male main character is going back to his hometown to take care of his mother, and so the bodyguard is hired to accompany him to like make sure nothing happens and just to keep him on like a low profile. But then they cannot tell his mother that he needs like a bodyguard with him, so they're like in a fake dating trope, which is so good in this book and I really love it. I really love how the female main character is like a strong woman. There is so many good quotes on this book as well that I love. It's just like it has the right amount of everything. Like it's cute, it's fluffy, it's a light read, and it just gives you like a serotonin boost. It makes you happy. The second book that I've rated 5 stars this year is 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. It's a romance YA fiction. I literally cried throughout the book because of how heartbreaking it is. I know that a lot of people that have read this book and rated it like good says that they bawled their eyes out and like it's so heartbreaking, and I totally agree with that. And I'd say that the story is very beautiful, and I just cannot imagine like how mature the female main character is. Because it is YA, they are depicted as like 15 to 17 years old, I figure, but I just felt like they're so mature for their age. This book literally just makes me feel something. I literally bawled my eyes out during like the last few chapters of this book just because how sad it is. It's about Poppy and Rune, who are childhood best friends, but then they got separated and then they meet again when they're like a little bit older, and it is heartbreaking. If you need like a good cry from a book, I recommend this book for you to read. The third book that I've rated 5 stars this year is Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. If you watch like the previous episode of Late Night Talking, you would know that I was still reading Girl in Pieces in that video, but I finished it. It is like a very different kind of switch genre for me because it talks about mental health, and like it talks about like these girls who were in like a mental health hospital. We're following like the main character Charlie. We're following like her story, like her background story, how she got there and how she grew, how she heals, and it's just very beautiful to read. And because I have very little knowledge about like this topic, it feels like very raw and very intriguing to get to know and actually learn what these people are going through, and the message behind the book is just so beautiful, hence why I gave it a 5 stars. The next book that I've rated 5 stars this year is the Inheritance Games series. So I gave the Inheritance Games, the Hawthorne Legacy, and the Final Gambit all 5 stars. I am obsessed with the series. It's so good because previously I've seen like so many people talking about like these series on Book Talk and Bookstagram, and it's just like I decided it's time to read it, and it's so good. It talks about Avery, who's a high school student that suddenly got inherited a fortune from a very wealthy man that have died recently, and so she can claim her inheritance only if she stayed at his mansion. It talks like all about mysteries, puzzles, games, which is very interesting. I literally finished this book series in like 3 days, so like 3 books in 3 days, because it is that good, and I just binge read everything in 3 days. Although I would say my favorite out of the 3 is probably the first book. It's just different, and this one, the first book, literally blew my mind. Every time I read every chapter, it feels like I can sort of picture them in real life in my head. Like I can see like a movie playing out from like the scenes that are happening. It's crazy. Next book that I've rated 5 stars this year is Happy Place by Emily Henry. I read this month and I loved it. If you haven't watched it already, I made a reading vlog for Happy Place by Emily Henry, and so you can see like all of my thoughts about that book in that video. It's so good. This is the book. It's just so good. You can see it like by my tabs. So many tabs that I have here. But it is so good. You need to read this. Next book that I've rated 5 stars this year is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I also read this month and I love it so much. It's like so cute. It's so fluffy. It's just like a light read and such a good rom-com. The small town vibes. So it's about Amelia, in this case Ray Rose. So she's like a pop singer and she felt like she needed a break from her career and all like those hectic stuff, and so she ran away in the middle of the night going to Rome because she idolizes Audrey Hepburn, and in one of Audrey Hepburn's movie she went to like Rome to like escape her real life, but the closest Rome that Amelia can find is Rome, Kentucky. So she went to Rome, Kentucky, which is like this small town, and then she met Noah, which is a pie shop owner, and it's a story about both of them. I feel like this is like a very good read for summer. I'd recommend this book to add to your like summer TBR because it is perfect. The last book that I've rated 5 stars so far this year is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I read this a couple days ago. This is the first fantasy that I've read this year. It's so good. I saw like a lot of people hyping this book on Book Talk. Every time I scroll on my For You page, it's like another creator talking about this book and saying like how amazing this book is. And so I have to hop on the hype train and see what it's about. And it is literally so good. At first I was like kind of worried about not really understanding the world building, because that's what happens with like fantasy books. And because it's been so long since I've read like a fantasy book, I'm just kind of worried that I will not be able to understand it. But it's actually very easy to understand and it flows really well, and like I can understand and follow the story pretty well, and it involves dragons, which is so cool. It's just so fascinating to read. I love like all of the characters, the plot, the tension between the main characters, so good, and I totally think that it deserves all the hype that it gets on Book Talk. And I've been seeing lots and lots of fan arts coming up on TikTok and Bookstagram, and it's just so good. It's been a couple days since I've read it and I still cannot get it out of my head. If you're in like a fantasy mood, I really recommend you to pick up this book and give it like a read to try if you like it or not. It is a new adult fantasy, so there is explicit scenes, but personally for me, I can easily skip the part because it's not a lot. I think because of this book, I'm entering like my fantasy era, because right now I'm reading the Shatter Me series, which I've been wanting to read for so long, and this book, Fourth Wing, made me feel like I'm in a fantasy era, like I'm in the mood for fantasy books. So that is all of the books that I've rated 5 stars in 2023 so far. The year has not ended yet, so there might still be more books that I will rate 5 stars in the future. I really recommend you guys to read all of the books that I've mentioned if you are interested. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!